Well, greetings friends and welcome to BBP. Now last week we started talking about promises and biblical principles and how confusing this can be for people when they try to claim a promise that God made in the Bible and it doesn't quite work out that way in their lives. Now I've heard it said over the years that there are 365 promises in this Bible. I don't know if that's true, I haven't counted them. But they always follow that up by saying, that's one promise for every day of the year. Hey, thanks. I never would have made that connection without your help. But certainly, we as Christ followers have every right to stand on his promises and to claim them. We just need to make sure it's a promise. Now, as I said last week, biblical principles are truth about God's nature that we can read from cover to cover and see evidence that they're true every time. And we see that in our own lives being worked out, that biblical principles never fail. His promises never fail. All of God's promises are tied to a spiritual principle, but not every principle is tied to a promise. So I don't think we can use those words interchangeably. We'll take a closer look at that in a minute. So let's dissect a few verses and see what we can find. Now in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verses 5 and 6, we read, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths." Is that a promise? Is it a principle? Or is it a spiritual guideline? This is a promise, and we know that because we see evidence of it from cover to cover, and we see it in our own lives. We can apply this biblical principle that God gives us wisdom when we ask him. Okay? That's a promise. Go down to verse 9. "Honor the Lord with all your possessions and with the first fruits of all your increase. So your barns will be filled with plenty and your vats will overflow with new wine." Is that a promise, a principle, or a guideline? Again, this is a promise because we see evidence of this occurring from cover to cover in the Bible. And you can apply it to your own lives and get the same result every time through generous giving. How about Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6? "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." Okay, that's not a promise. That's not even a principle. You don't see any evidence of this from cover to cover. There's plenty of people who raised children in the Bible to be godly and they turned out evil. And in our own lives we see evidence of that. We do the best we can to raise godly children. It doesn't always turn out that way. This is just a spiritual guideline which says that the best chance we have of raising godly children is to train them early on. But there's no guarantee attached to this. Now let's take a look at Psalm 103, starting in verse 2. This one's a little more difficult to figure out. "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits, who forgives all your iniquities and heals all your diseases." What are we looking at here? Forgives all your iniquities. Is that a promise? It absolutely is. And it's based on the spiritual principle that whosoever calls upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. We can trust that, and we see evidence of it from cover to cover. We see it in our own lives. Okay, second part of this verse, "who heals all your diseases." Is that a promise? Well, think about this for a minute. Have you ever prayed for someone to be healed and they died? I have, and I know a lot of people who have. This is not a promise. It is, however, a biblical principle because we see evidence throughout God's word that he heals diseases. And certainly Jesus Christ healed many, many people of diseases. There's not a disease known to mankind that he can't heal. So in that sense, he does heal all types of diseases. But to read this and to claim it as a promise that God is going to heal me, God is going to heal my loved one, you're setting yourself up for frustration. I'm not God. I don't know what his plans are for anyone with illness, whether he's going to heal them or take them home. I'm trying to help you understand the difference between God's promises and principles and guidelines. And the truth is that you can only truly know what you're reading here by the careful study over the course of time of God's Word and become familiar with it and apply it to your lives and watch it work out. Then you'll know when you're reading something, whether that's a promise you can stand on, a principle you can live by, or a spiritual guideline that you should apply whenever you can. Now, I'll be back here next week with another new video. I want you to give this some thought. Let me know what you think. Until next week, you keep your eyes on Jesus and not on your troubles. Thank you.